Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, happy Thursday afternoon to you. Well, almost afternoon, like a couple more minutes. This will be our lunchtime live here for your Thursday as you kind of get ready to plan your upcoming weekend. And we'll talk about the storms for later this afternoon here across southeast Oklahoma, on into Arkansas, and also North Texas to see what they're in store for. So thanks for joining me. Hope you're having a great day so far. Hope you've had a good week. And we're going to cut right to the chase and get right to it because it's going to be a short, abbreviated live. So thanks for joining me out there on YouTube land. I see you guys checking in. Same thing for Rumble and also on Facebook. As always, I'll post little links where you can download or actually you can opt in to get live notifications on my broadcast channel. So if you'd like to do that, there's your option there. That way you don't miss a single thing. So let's get on with it, shall we? So first things first, I don't know if you've stepped outside lately. If you haven't, it's cold. It's quite chilly compared to what it was this morning. I got some cloud cover out there. I've got a temperature right here in my backyard of 64 degrees. So I am dropping like a rock. So it is going to be a little bit on the chilly side here coming up for the remainder of today. So some things that have happened in the atmosphere overnight. The first thing that we did see was a cluster of storms out here across northeastern Kansas, little MCS. And sometimes these little MCSs, they will release a elevated outflow boundary called an undular bore. So if you take a look at this, use your imagination, but follow this line from right here all the way down to this little line right here, and then back up. I'm going to animate it for you, but pay attention to that little boundary. You see it moving? Yep, moving just due south. So it moves very fast. That's how you know it's not a surface-based outflow boundary. It is an elevated. So we call it an undular bore. Basically, it kind of rides along the stable layer in the atmosphere, aka a capping inversion, and can actually erode the cap a little bit as it goes because it does have some cooler temperatures with it. And that can sometimes even be reflected at the surface. You get a wind shift or a pressure change in the data. And it's subtle. It's not a major lifting mechanism, but it can help produce some thunderstorms and or maybe change the environment where you weren't expecting storms because the cap was too strong and help weaken the cap just enough to where you do get storms. So it can play a factor in the weather. If we do look at the surface pattern, I'm going to animate this. Actually, I'm going to do it by hand. So we'll start right here. I'm going to kind of go back and forth. So I want you to focus on, there's two boundaries here. There's going to be the front boundary right here that you'll see. You'll see a little roll cloud along with it. And then you see this little boundary right here, which is our gravity wave cloud. And you can see these little 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the indication of a gravity wave. So if we go like this, see how it moves south and east really fast? See that? And back and forward, reverse, back. So this little guy right here is the gravity wave, now almost clearing the state of Oklahoma down to North Texas and Dallas. And this right here, this little rope cloud, is the actual cold front. And you can see the winds out of the northwest right here, these little wind barbs behind the front. They're out of the south-southwest ahead of the front, and they're out of the south here ahead of the undular bore. So how about that? So you have quite a bit going on. So for weather geeking, today's a pretty cool day just because of all that stuff going on. So here's looking at a flat view of our state. So you can kind of picture where the front is, kind of meandering in, something like this, right? So you got our nice northwest flow behind it. Still a little on the muggy and juicy side up here with temperatures into the 70s, dew points upper 60s. Whereas here, our dew points are falling off into these green numbers into the 40s and 30s by the time you get into the panhandle. So that means drier air is filtering in. If you do look at the actual surface temperatures, again, 40s in the panhandle, so cold up there, 50s elsewhere in northwest Oklahoma. We've got the metro here cut right in half, so we're now cooling you down, south side, southeast side of town momentarily. Otherwise, 80s just east there towards Shawnee, and then 70s elsewhere. And like we talked about, the winds are pretty gusty. Got gusts near anywhere from 30 to 35. Here's up around 40 out here in the western parts of the state and up here around Ponca City. So there you go. So northern parts of the state, a little bit on the gusty side as well. Now, there is a threat of severe weather today. It does include far southeast Oklahoma, Arkansas, pretty much the entire state, and then back up to from there east from Illinois and parts of Missouri, and then back into northern Texas, even back out here to the hill country and southwestern parts of Texas. So a very large risk of slight risk of severe weather. When you look at the AI algorithms, some of these that we use for different models, this is the only one that produces tornadoes. These two little spots here. That's south central, southeastern Arkansas, a little east of there. Otherwise, it's mainly just focusing on hail and wind, and these are actually really low probabilities. Even if you look at the analogs, here's the big general consensus of it. If you look at the breakdown for wind, a little favored spot here, North Texas, and up here across Arkansas, Missouri. If you look at hail, much bigger signature for just hail with these thunderstorms. And if you look for tornadoes in the analogs, it didn't find anything. So again, it's not one of those types of days. This is another AI algorithm. It tries to find what the worst it could find, and it's got something out here. And one of those spots here looks like on the southwest side of Dallas-Fort Worth, but very low, 2 or 3% probability. So again, not a big deal for today, according to the low-level shear that's forecast in the atmosphere. If we do look at the severe weather here across Oklahoma, again, east of Tulsa, just east of Miami, up to Muskogee, McAllister, Toka, just south of Ardmore, on into the body of Arkansas. Let's see here. Let's do, so the real quick round robin overall pattern of the jet stream. We had basically a very zonal flow west to east. There's no really huge storm system. The big storm system is up here. This is the upper level low. So again, we don't have any major atmospheric systems to work with today. It's just all be kind of subtle and basically on what a cold front is able to produce. That's about it. There's a little bit of lift here in the atmosphere right here for this afternoon from this little guy across Mexico, but otherwise not a whole lot. If you look at the wind in the atmosphere at 300 millibars way up there in the jet stream level, there's hardly any wind here at all. This is very light winds, 30, 35, 40 knots. So usually when you want severe weather, you want a lot of wind shear in the atmosphere. Here at the mid-levels, 500 millibars, we have just a little bit in this little area here, but again, not much. Let's see, let's go to the surface, 850 millibars. Look at these winds, they're all over the place, basically 5, 10 knots in their various directions. So again, our wind shear is pathetic, and that's why you don't have enough wind shear for organized, widespread severe storms, plus anything that could be tornadic, etc. The only exception to the rule was if somehow a storm was able to get anchored to the frontal boundary and ride the frontal boundary for a little while before the front undercut it. And that's the issue here, is because this front is moving from north to south, and right now the storms will move kind of in an east fashion with a little drift to the southeast. So if for whatever reason there's a little small window they can stay ahead of the front, at least on the boundary itself and not get behind the boundary, you might squeeze out a brief tornado, but it would be so brief and shouldn't have time to do much. But regardless, that's the reason why, because we have such low wind shear values in this area, but enough instability to produce some hail, and as well as the algorithms went a little higher for that. Anyway, so here's the position of the front by like 4 o'clock this afternoon. So basically just knocking on the door of Tarrant County, and then back up here east of Tulsa. So that can give us southeastern quadrant of our state. And then pretty much you're moist and juicy all in these areas here until you do get something to trigger the thunderstorms in your area. We look at instability. There's a sweet little pocket down here around 4,000 joules per kilogram south in Dallas. Let's go a couple of counties south, so kind of like toward the Waco area. And down here, the wind shear is not as chaotic. It's a little bit better organized, but very, very weak. So again, they would have to have a frontal boundary in play to kind of help increase the odds of a tornado. Otherwise, hail up to maybe 3 inches in diameter. So again, some big hail down here in central Texas for any of those thunderstorms late this afternoon and evening. If you look at a significant tornado parameter, like I said, there's not a whole lot on the chart here in this area of Texas. There's some pockets here and there, but again, the rest of the ingredients aren't quite there, so we'll just ignore that for now. If we really look at the actual storm output, let's do that here for you for the big picture, and then we'll zoom into Oklahoma. So right now, the models have that little thin line of thunderstorms breaking out here this afternoon. There for far eastern and southeastern Oklahoma, down toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area and southwest of them. And then just other showers and thunderstorms bubbling up here across the east side of Arkansas, and then there's Missouri during the late afternoon and evening hours. But even then, you can see it's not a whole lot of coverage. Remember, there's a big area, but there's still sporadic areas where you don't see storms. So there's northeast Texas getting some storms this evening. Again, there's the rest of Arkansas late around the midnight hour. Still a few here, East Central and Missouri, etc. But otherwise, for the coverage, not a huge big deal. And I'm going to sneak a peek into what happens on Friday night. See all that? Boom. That's a lot of rainfall moving through North Texas and southern Oklahoma Friday night into Saturday morning. And we'll see a close-up view of that here in just 2 seconds. But here's a close-up view of the storms first, with that front moving through. So there's that really thin line. So that's how the models are indicating you have a pretty good front with instability along it. There's a couple of thunderstorms here. A little bit of a helicity track with this one, south McAllister, indicating some hail. But you see how it's moving southeast, with the front. So the front's kind of driving it. So, but that'll be across southeastern Oklahoma. Otherwise, that moves on out. And that's really all she wrote. By 7 o'clock, it looks like everything's out of our state. And like I say, even probably south of Dallas-Fort Worth by that point. There's just kind of a small window for Dallas around 4 and 5 o'clock, and then it quickly moves south and east of you. All right, so let's take this a little further into time. I want to show you when the rain starts to come back in the picture, and that's Friday night. So here's midnight, for example. We're starting to see a little bit of light precipitation breakout, nothing heavy, sprinkles basically. And then we start to get some elevated thunderstorms developing and some heavier showers across southern parts of the state, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. Saturday morning, there's 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So if you have any plans here across the I-40 corridor, which runs basically like so, you're going to be expected to be wet on down the south. Tulsa right now, fingers crossed, you're going to be dry for most of this event. However, I'm going to show you the European model. It does show you are probably going to still get a little bit wet. Just may not be an all-day wet thing, maybe off and on. Here's noontime on Saturday. And another round kind of comes in here for Saturday afternoon out in southwest Oklahoma, northwestern Texas. That moves through during the evening hours on Saturday. So if you have plans Saturday evening, it does look pretty wet here in central Oklahoma. All right, so that's a little sneak peek of how your rainfall is going to pan out for your upcoming weekend plans. What about temperatures? Well, today, as we talked about, things are falling quick. So let's skip you to 5 o'clock this afternoon. You're down to the 60s out here in southeast Oklahoma, 54 in Stillwater, 55 degrees here in Oklahoma City. So it is going to be cold, at least, a shock to you. So headed to overnight tonight. Let's go into Friday morning. Wind chill values Friday morning up here will be into the 30s. Actual air temperatures also in the 30s, mid to upper 30s. Not a frost, not a freeze, but woo, it is going to be cold for those plants. Otherwise, 45 here in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa. So a very cold start for our Friday, so something we hadn't seen here in a while. And then in the afternoon hours, rebounding pretty nice. Should be a decent day, topping out into the mid to upper 60s across most of Oklahoma. And then like we talked about on Saturday, we'll start you off probably a little bit cooler. We'll have the clouds and the rain around in some cases. Temperatures bottoming out once again, probably we'll call it the borderline between 40s and 50s. Cool spot up here will be across the far northern counties. There's Ponca City at 38. Outside of that, the rest of us a little bit warmer than that. Let's go to afternoon for Saturday. And you can see we're going to rebound because of the clouds and rainfall, not as much in southern parts of the state. So 50s, maybe even some 40s hanging in there briefly. Otherwise, with some sunshine, etc. That's why I'm saying Tulsa may not be too bad for most of the day, 66 degrees in the afternoon, and then we will focus on after that part. So here is the European model, which does show you the rainfall moving in. So let me zip this through. So here you go. So again, Friday night and a Saturday morning, this is where the bulk of the rain starts. Not expecting a whole lot. In northwest Oklahoma, a few scattered areas, little sprinkles, light activity. Same thing here for far northern Oklahoma during the lunchtime hour, according to the European. And even for the afternoon at 4 o'clock, it's got a little bit of light showers moving around the Tulsa area. But most of the heavy stuff is across the south. And as we head into Saturday night, Sunday morning, pretty much all wraps up. So by Sunday, it looks dry. And rainfall amounts have come down considerably over the period for anywhere along I-40 points north. So like I said, there's a few areas here, hit and miss spots. You might get a 1/4 inch in some cases, maybe 3/10. There's a little higher spot there. Tulsa, again, you're a couple of tenths. Maybe on the north side, though, you're at 3/10 just for a little short few-hour window. Otherwise, you're looking at about a widespread 1/2 to 1 inch from Oklahoma City down south. You're getting into some of the 2-inch categories on into North Texas and northeastern Texas. There's maybe 3 inches down here. So that's where the bulk of the rain will fall over our weekend. Temperatures for today, like we talked about, obviously pretty chilly now. They're going to be falling once you get behind the front. So we've already passed 65 here. I'm at 62 now, but I just dropped 3 degrees in just a few minutes. 55 degrees, though, for tomorrow here in Oklahoma City metro area. 61 on Sunday, then back into the 70s. That looks good. Overnight lows out of the 40s for a while, and then we get back into the 50s. So that Bermuda grass is going to be in for a little bit of a shock and go, what in the world? What you talking about, Beavis? So, but otherwise, it'll recover. Just means you don't have to mow so soon. It'll hold off on growing a little bit. But real quick, just want to give out a little shout out. Thanks again for tuning in today for our live. Jamie, thank you for the stars. Same thing, you, Romy. Who else we got? Patty, thank you for the stars today as we kickstart our weekend. You guys on YouTube, also thanks for coming in and leaving your comments in the section. Miss Jody likes to pipe in there and talk with you guys for a little bit, because a lot of times, of course, I can't see this stuff. I'm looking at the maps. So I have no idea what half the conversations you guys have with each other. Let's see. New here. Alicia. Iconics, I found you because of the woman that got blocked. Appreciate your forecasting. As someone with storm anxiety, you were very calming. Excellent. So appreciate that. Yeah, so it's just funny because you have to understand this. I'm going to be really short because I got to go. But you'll get a lot of people that just run their mouths, and you know who they are. You're probably friends with some of them, and they got no problems doing this. They're keyboard, warriors. And when they say a bunch of negative stuff to me, I'm like, why do I have to take your negativity? I don't take anything that you're spewing out. It's my world, my rules. You're gone. Bye. Click. Ban. And then what happens is, they talk all tough on the way out the door, and then they're stuck watching people they don't want to watch. And then they start complaining about those people that they're having to watch. Why? Because they couldn't keep their mouth shut and watch me. So there's the irony. So now, because they got themselves a band because they thought it'd be a proud badge to hold, now they're complaining on Facebook about who they're forced to watch. I'm like, you should have just done the right thing, kept your mouth shut. That's not my problem. You should listen to your mama when she said, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that. So yeah, I have a simple rule here. Just don't sit there and attack me just for being stupid. Just don't. Save it. And don't lump me in with everybody else, because I work way too hard to separate myself from the wheat from the chaff. So let's keep it that way. All right, you guys have a great rest for Thursday. Hope it's great for you. Hope you enjoy the weather. And take a jacket with you wherever you're going to go. It's going to be a little cool here the next couple of days. And we'll talk with you again soon. Take care.